Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking episode 17 of Gotham called Red Hood. And I gotta say, this is all around a genuinely pretty darn good episode of Gotham. It's definitely, in my book, one of the strongest episodes of the series so far. A lot of stuff happens, and it's all pretty interesting. And, it kind of feels like this is going to be one of those shows that really doesn't gel properly until the end of the season. And while that's always disappointing, it's not exactly uncommon for shows in their first season. But anyway, let's kind of just get right into things. So we might as well start off by talking about the whole Red Hood situation. Now, if you're familiar with Batman lore, the Red Hood doesn't really need any explanation. Short version is this is actually part of the Joker origin story. Is that before he became the Joker, he was a character. He ran around calling himself the Red Hood, and it was while he was in the persona of the Red Hood that Batman knocks him into those chemicals, and it's from there that he turns into the Joker. Now here they're doing something really completely different. The Red Hood is whoever puts on the Red Hood, and as was evidenced by the guys wearing the hood in this episode, a bizarre sense of confidence and capability seems to come over the people who put the hood on. So, I mean, it's not exactly a superpower. I mean, the only thing we've really seen in that vein has been the Viper from several episodes ago. But it does sort of start this sort of idea of the mythology of this hood. We hear it's like people are talking about it in the streets, and yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. But we do see the evidence. The guys put this on, and they suddenly really become genuinely more capable, or at least more confident in their own mind. And what I like is that they take this idea seriously, while at the same time having the gang members all sort of acknowledge, like, dude, this is kind of crazy. This is really weird. I mean, it's a very delicate balance, and subtlety has never been Gotham's strength. But this episode, they pull it off. Also, I gotta say, like the Asian store owner guy, I cannot think of his name, but he's been in so many TV shows and movies. I have completely lost count. And the weird thing is, I swear I was reading an article about him just the other week, but for the life of me, as always, cannot remember the guy's name. So anyway, let's move on over and unfortunately talk about Barbara this episode. And here we basically see Barbara puttering around her apartment, drinking excessively. And I love how Selina even kind of picks up on the fact that Barbara's basically a drunk. And how Barbara, kind of like, it looks like for a moment they're going to take Barbara and go like, oh yeah, Barbara had a hand in shaping Selina into Catwoman. And then Selina turns around, just completely throws like, oh yeah, well if being beautiful is so great, why ain't it working for you? Right in Barbara's face. I mean, like, yeah, Selina, that's the way you do it. I mean, I don't think Selina needs to be told that she's pretty or that she can, use being attractive as a weapon. Come on, she's smart. She's figured this out. But Ivy. Now, Ivy, I think, might be the kind of person who might be open to what Barbara was selling there, if she tried that. And I do kind of have to wonder, just like, how much hot water would Barbara get in, having these underage girls hanging around her apartment? I mean, like, isn't there something in the show that, like, vaguely she's supposed to be an attorney or something? I mean, this is just basically kind of a scandal waiting to happen. But, who gives a crap about Barbara? I also liked what they were doing with Penguin and Butch this episode. Penguin obviously not unreasonably very leery of anything having anything to do with Butch. But he had been told that Butch is going to be here to help you out, so you have to wonder why Penguin isn't at least willing to talk to him. Now I'm sure a lot of it is just ego, but like the whole situation with Maroni, like, well, why don't you send Butch to talk to Maroni? I mean, the worst thing that can happen is the guy says no. If you're lucky, maybe Maroni gets pissed off and kills Butch, and then Falcone has a perfectly good reason to go in there and kill Maroni, and that, kind of solves two of Oswald's problems. Normally Oswald is a smart guy who gets by on manipulation, but as Butch points out in this episode, here the first thing he goes for is to try and storm into Maroni's warehouse, guns blazing, when a little bit of subterfuge gets him exactly the same results. Exactly, I suppose, why he couldn't just sort of order booze from out of state and have it trucked in. I mean, it'd be more expensive, but this is Gotham. Maroni probably would have had the shipment hijacked, so whatever. But at least it ends with the idea that Penguin and Butch are at least going to make a reasonably good team. And we do have these interesting things there at the moment. Butch says, "I'm no longer going to be a sidekick." And then, of course, Penguin notices the tremble in his hand, and then there's that funky scar on his head, obviously the result of whatever Zsasz did to him in that basement over the course of, several weeks. So it's a big question, like, what's going on with Butch? Interesting. And let's see, what else do we have to talk about? Nothing to really say. Well, Leslie's just sort of only mentioned in this episode. There's nothing really in particular to say about her. And that just sort of leads us to the other big storyline, which is focuses in on Alfred by bringing in his old military buddy Reggie. And Reggie is interesting in that he's very clearly kind of what Alfred could have been like if he hadn't had the Waynes in his life. Reggie mentions that his wife died and they just sort of lost the will to go on. Obviously, the guy fell into depression and such. And now he's just basically pretty much a homeless guy. Or at least that's how he presents himself. And I really love the twist that he was ultimately working for the Wayne Foundation board, which really brings them back into the spotlight in a really interesting and dynamic way. But going back to the sort of relationship between him and Alfred, it was really cool to see Alfred kind of get focused in, learn more about his past, and just sort of see Bruce dealing with somebody who was like Alfred, but at the same time very different from him. Reggie has nothing but old memories and skills when it comes to violence. Alfred has more. He has much more. And he even gives that really great speech about, what it's like to have a kid. Bruce gives Alfred something really genuinely worthwhile to live for. And that's why he's part of the reason why he's so fiercely dedicated to him. Reggie, meanwhile, betrayed one of his closest friends for money. And then he sort of makes this very half-hearted attempt to sort of like talk the one Wayne board lady out, like, "Oh yeah, you don't have to kill Bruce, he's just a kid." And she, of course, completely and utterly dismisses him. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if they are gearing this towards, Reggie having a change of heart and stepping in there to protect Bruce is kind of a way to make amends. And Reggie's advice to Bruce, about how, go in there, be silent, be ruthless, use the things around you. Well, that's all good advice and all classic Batman fighting. As much as Alfred might not like it, one of these days Bruce is going to adopt more than a little bit of Reggie's philosophy. Not his morals, but certainly his philosophy when it comes to combat. So whatever happens, we can't say that Reggie didn't at least have some degree of positive influence on Bruce. And again, stabbing the closest thing Bruce had to a second father, very negative. But in any case, it'll be very interesting to see how things play out with him. And then, miracle of miracles, what's going on with Fish is actually interesting and not totally stupid. Now, the one thing that really bugs me is this sort of like, they're treating this sort of like, oh, well, we just kind of have these people sit around until somebody needs a liver. Like, dude, do you not know how the black market for organs works? There is, like, demand endlessly outstrips supply. You get somebody that you're going to do that to, and you don't care if they live or die, just and then take every viable piece that you can get your hands on. You don't keep them locked up in a damn basement because, amazingly enough, that's bad for one's internal organs. And one would think that a doctor would know this. But whatever. It's Gotham. We've got to do the whole House of Horrors nonsense. But So we meet the manager, played by the one and only Jeffrey Combs. Oh my god. Yes, Jeffrey Combs. Now, if you don't know, Jeffrey Combs has actually done more than a little bit of DC work before. He was the voice of Scarecrow on one of the old Batman and Robin adventures, I think it was. And he was, of course, also the voice of the Question on Justice League Unlimited. And that performance there really earned the Question a huge number of fans. And it is, in all honesty, probably the most iconic depiction of that character. And of course, Jeffrey Combs has a long list of genre stuff under his belt. He was on Enterprise, he was on the 4400. I mean, come on, the dude was in Reanimator. How classic is Reanimator? And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I so pity you. I mean, come on, that is classic stuff, Reanimator. But anyway, so he's here as the manager, and I have the feeling that he's really actually doll maker, just sort of pretending to be his own flunky. I mean, the idea of the flunky just giving away the doctor's name like that. I mean, the second he said that, it's like, okay, there's no way he expects Fish to leave this room alive. And then he starts going on about her eyes and blah 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 blah. Like, nah, man, that just reads like how the doll maker would act. So also, you don't bring in somebody like of Jeffrey Combs' caliber, somebody with his resume, and then just shove him off as some sort of middle manager. I mean, I can pretty much guarantee you it's going to turn out that Jeffrey Combs is really the doll maker. And then Fish gets that absolutely awesome scene where she freaking gouges out her own eye with a spoon and then steps on it. I mean, yeah. I mean, people, like, the reaction online is great. Like, people were flipping the hell out because, damn, I never saw that coming. And it's sort of like, okay, after 2 episodes of complete and utter bullshit from Fish as a character, here we get a moment where it's like, okay, now I see why you don't screw with Fish. I mean, she does all that out of spite. Ooh, golden, man. Golden. I love it. Okay, guys, that really is all I do have for you this episode, though. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.